The night with the demon. Blood-red rays of the setting sun pierced the outskirts of gloomy Ransk. From a small cliff above the city dump, two male figures watched the city drowning in the sunset. They were sitting on portable garden chairs and apparently having dinner. From the side it might have looked like a picnic, but the atmosphere was tense, oppressive. The men's faces expressed nothing but sullen calmness. They concentrated on chewing their sandwiches, preparing for a long night. There was a lot of work ahead, and they needed to gather their strength, both physical and moral. Having finished their snack, the men exchanged glances, nodded to each other, rose from their chairs, and slowly moved from the cliff towards the forest line to a dilapidated building visible through the trees. An outside observer at that moment would have been struck by the difference in their builds. The taller one walked ahead. He was a large, stocky man of about 25. By his smooth and confident movements, a connoisseur would immediately recognize a fighter, a killing machine. His body was clearly honed for combat, not for lifting weights. Flexible strength was felt in his every step. The man walking behind him was a head shorter and looked a few years younger. His movements were unlike his companions, jerky and impulsive. Moreover, he kept turning his head from side to side, checking if there were any strangers around. Witnesses were clearly not needed in their business. "You know, Dima, I'm convinced again that renting this wrecked garage on the edge of town was a great idea," said the smaller one. Dmitri nodded, and the speaker continued. "It seems the stench from the new dump drives away all living things. We've been walking for a while. There's not a soul here. Perfect. Lyosh, well, of course. While I was finding a suitable place, and one with a basement at that, I drove all over Ransk, wore my ass out in the car," Dmitri chuckled. "It was worth it, brother." A couple of minutes later, the men reached the garage. Dmitri slowly opened the door and gestured for Alexei to enter. However, when Alexei tried to go in, Dmitri leaned against the door jamb with his hand, blocking his way. Lyosha, not expecting this, stopped abruptly, bumping into Dmitri's powerful arm. "Bro, it's not too late to stop," Dmitri said, looking caringly into Alyosha's eyes. "We can still take a different path. We don't have to do this right now." "Dima, are you serious? What about our parents, our loved ones? Have you forgotten their suffering? Have you forgotten what happened to them? Are you ready to leave everything as it is? Are you ready to just let this creature go and live as if nothing happened?" "Lyosh, I understand you perfectly. I'm ready to tear this filth apart with my bare hands, and I will do so when I find it. But understand, I don't want this fate for you. If you cross this threshold, there will be no way back. Come on, I'll do it all myself. You don't have to get involved in this. I'll take care of everything." "They were my family too, Dima. Stop talking about it constantly. You won't convince me. We'll do it together." Dmitri could only nod sadly and let his brother inside. Alex entered the darkness of the garage. Dmitri immediately followed him and locked the door. As soon as the lock clicked, bright green light lines illuminated the darkness of the room for a moment. "Well then, the runes have worked. There truly is no turning back now," Lyosha grinned, looking into his brother's eyes. "Then let's move on." Dima smiled back at his brother, opening a hatch in the floor. The cellar proved to be much more spacious than one might expect, judging by the garage from the outside. Temporary light bulbs hung from the ceiling, providing enough light to see the surrounding space, yet still unable to completely dispel the darkness in the far corners of the room. As soon as Lyosha and Dima descended, they were met by a hissing, choking sound, accompanied by loud rustling and metallic clanging. The source of the sounds, as the brothers well understood, was a body wrapped in a white shroud and chained with metal chains to a rusty bed. The chains glowed with the bright green light of locking runes. The body writhed, unable to move its arms or legs, mumbled something through a tightly inserted gag, and glared at the brothers with hostile yet wary reddish-yellow eyes. The brothers slowly but confidently approached the bed. The chained body turned out to be a middle-aged man with 3 days' worth of stubble, tangled hair matted with blood, and a bruise under his left eye. Typical office clerk clothes showed through the shroud. "We've been chasing you for a long time, you bastard," Alexei hissed, staring intently into the eyes of the chained man. "And you went down with one blow." "Yeah, it turned out funny. He seems to have just messed up. He probably thought we were easy prey and just lunged at me. All that was left was to catch him with a counterblow. Consider it, he knocked out himself. He even smashed his head on the floor," Dmitri recalled with apparent pleasure. "Yeah, I saw it. We've got a talentless demon this time, brother," Alexei echoed his brother's mocking tone, after which he approached the writhing man, stood him up, and sat him on the bed, removing the gag from his mouth. At that very moment, a stream of vomit erupted from the demon's mouth. Alexei dodged the putrid vomit at the very last second. "You almost ruined my shirt, you bastard," Alexei said to the demon, smiling with satisfaction after making sure not a single drop had landed on his clothes. "Wait, what's that on you?" Dmitri called out to his brother. "Where?" Alexei asked, surprised. "Here, wait." The older brother reached out to his younger brother's shoulder and removed a bright red ladybug. "Imagine that," Alexei said, surprised. "A ladybug. We need to let it go, it doesn't belong here." "Of course, brother, like Dad taught us. It's a shame we can't right now. Work first." Lyosha took out a matchbox, emptied all the matches, and placed the insect inside. He made several holes in the box and put it in his pocket. "We'll deal with it later, brother. I will not leave this body. It's mine forever," the demon shrieked, clearly offended by being distracted by some bug. "You can't do anything about it. Your God isn't here, and he won't help you. I'll devour your souls too. I'll tear out your eyes. You'll rot in your graves, and the souls of your relatives." Stop, 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 stop. Alexei interrupted the demon, who was spraying saliva in his rage, blinking his eyes with feigned surprise. "Leave this body? You think that's why we met?" A look of confusion appeared on the demon's face, smoothly transitioning into bewildered surprise. Another threat stuck in his throat. "As you know, friend, the essence of exorcism is to expel your kind from a human body. This must be done in a way that minimizes damage to the victim's soul and body. After all, an innocent person should return to a normal life with minimal losses, right? Therefore, we cannot cause him serious harm. The exorcist knows this, you know this, you all know this, right?" Alexei looked at the demon with a predatory smile. The demon grinned maliciously. He clearly understood what was being said to him, but he didn't understand what this crazy shorty was getting at. A battle of stares began. Realizing he was losing to the human, the demon let out a vile giggle, his wild red-yellow eyes fixed on Alex. Alexei, without breaking eye contact, giggled back, as if trying to mimic the demon's laughter, taunting him. The demon's giggling grimace shifted back to one of confusion. "If we can, we need to free him. At least try," Dima said from somewhere behind Alexei's shoulder. Lyosha turned around. "What are you saying, brother?" "Well, he also has family left. We should return him to them." "And you think they'll want to see him after what he did to them?" "It wasn't him. It was all her. She made that poor wretch do all of this. You understand that yourself." Dmitri frowned. The demon let out another vile giggle. "We had a very fun time with them. They didn't seem to enjoy it very much, but I left a whole puddle on the carpet from joy. And Alexei hit the demon in the face. The demon fell onto his side. Shut up, creature. Dim, you understand that he can no longer return to a normal life, just like his son, whom we pulled out of a bathtub full of the blood of his mother, sister, and even the dog. I really want to go back to my little son, the demon said, mockingly imitating the voice of his victim, and giggled. By the way, down there in hell I met your daddy. The brothers froze for a moment and stared at the demon, and the demon continued. He sent his regards to both of you, but he asked me to give you a special hello, Dima. He told me that he hated you the most. Taking you in was his biggest mistake. After all, it was you who brought evil into his family. Shut up, Dmitri whispered. I will never forgive you, bastards, for this. He was a good man. Excuses. You know yourself that you destroyed your adoptive family. The demon shifted his gaze to Alexei, who was frozen in place. Why are you still with this foundling? He's the reason your family is dead. He led us to his family and then to yours. And then he'll lead us to another. Everyone you loved burns in hell just because you accepted him. Alexei clenched his fists. Yes, Lyosha, your mother and little sister are asking you to avenge him. They are hurting. They say he is to blame for everything. Alexei turned to his brother, looked him in the eyes. Dmitri calmly looked back. He saw that Alexei was furious, that he was ready to strike, but Dmitri wasn't going to defend himself. He knew that the demon was telling the truth, albeit partially. He felt guilty and was ready to take responsibility. Looking into his older brother's eyes, Alexei screamed furiously, turned around, and swinging, struck the demon in the face with all his might, giving demon's victim a black eye. So, my dear friend, having calmed down slightly, Alexei theatrically spread his arms to the sides, and a kind and warm smile lit up his face. Let's continue. Where did I leave off? Ah, yes. Right now, exorcism is not quite our case. More precisely, it's not our case at all. Alexei walked right up to the demon and leaned down, bringing his face close to the possessed man's face, staring intently at him. As expected, the demon jerked his head sharply in an attempt to bite the man, but falling short by just a couple of millimeters, he snapped his teeth loudly. Alexei didn't move his face away, but only smiled. And do you know why, my friend? I don't want you to leave this man's body. The demon's gaze began to change, and Alexei moved his face even closer. I don't want you to leave our little party until I get what I need from you. The demon's gaze turned frightened, and a predatory, insane smile spread across Alexei's face. He moved his face even closer, and their foreheads were now touching. I've turned the tables. I've trapped you in this man's body, and you will never leave it, and I will do whatever I want with you. Alexei finally pulled his face away from the captive, straightened up to his full height, and began to laugh, loudly and madly. A grimace of horror distorted the demon's face. Even Dmitri looked at his younger brother with some apprehension. The light in the room flickered. Alexei abruptly stopped laughing and became serious. Looking down at the demon, he said, "You just tried to escape, didn't you?" The room became incredibly quiet. The silence was broken by Dmitri, who started rustling some instruments behind Lyosha's back. The demon couldn't see what the older man was doing, but he had a very bad feeling. If you still want to escape, attack, or harm us in any other way, now is your last chance, Alexei said quietly, slowly and authoritatively, looking into the possessed man's eyes. If you can do something, do it now. For the next few hours, only pain awaits you, and we are not interested in preserving your body, as you may have already realized. The light started flickering again. Shadows deepened in the room. The chains began to strain and creak. Dmitri even got distracted from his preparations for a couple of seconds and started looking around just in case, preparing for the worst. Alexei, however, kept his gaze fixed on the demon. A hum appeared and began to grow around them, gradually turning into some otherworldly whisper. However, after about 10 seconds, the flickering light stopped, the thickening shadows dispersed, and the demon went limp on the chains, which glowed bright green. "Yes," Alexei drawled and pursed his lips like a strict teacher looking at a hopeless student. "Honestly, I'm disappointed. Well, all right, let's continue." Dmitri went to one of the walls of the room and opened a barrel dug into the floor, filled with some kind of liquid. Then he approached the demon, easily lifted him by the scruff of his neck like a puppy with one hand, and plunged the body into the container. The liquid began to bubble violently, and the demon roared and burst into curses. "A warm bath with holy water," Alexei laughed. What could be better for a demon to start a wonderful night of torture? The possessed man didn't answer. He only screamed. He choked on his own scream. "You know, I often remember how father changed because of her," Alexei thoughtfully addressed his older brother. "Same shit," Dmitri replied, peacefully observing the demon's torment. They stood like that calmly for about a minute, watching the possessed man boiling in holy water. "Ah, all right, brother. We're having a good time, but we have guests today. I think they're already bored with the monotony of this torture." "He'll have plenty of time to simmer," Dmitri replied grimly, after which he easily and effortlessly pulled the demon out of the barrel and threw him back onto the bed. His skin was blistered and covered in burns. The demon himself no longer even cursed the brothers, but simply moaned and howled. The elder brother handed Alexei the torture instruments and a certain book. He began his work. The next few hours were spent in endless torment for the demon trapped in the mortal body of the unfortunate clerk. The brothers drew holy symbols and runic inscriptions on him, read prayers and incantations. The demon screamed. At first he tried to confuse them with the voice of the man he possessed, but then only with his demonic voice. The brothers didn't explain anything to the demon, didn't even talk to him. He cursed, insulted them, ordered them to let him go. He insulted their deceased parents, told them how he had repeatedly abused them in hell and on earth, and how he would do it for all eternity. But the torture didn't stop for a second. At some point, the demon began to beg the brothers for mercy. He persuaded them to just say what they needed. He was ready to fulfill any of their requests, if only the torment would stop. The night was long, and the torture continued until dawn. The brothers had been waiting for this day for a long time. They studied mountains of information about demons, perused tons of folios. They unearthed information about cases of people being possessed by these creatures, about how to restrain or exorcise them, about how to fight them. For hours they rehearsed the plan to capture a demon in a human body. And now success. They did it for the first time. This was the only way to find out about her, about the one who subjugates men and breaks destinies. Finally, Alexei stopped. The demon continued to ask to be released, ask to be allowed to leave this body, this place, this sphere of being. He asked and promised not to tell anyone anything, not to take revenge. He just wanted to disappear. "Well, I see you're ready to tell me everything I need to know. Or should we continue the procedures? I'll tell you everything. Just let me go." "She-spider," Alexei paused. The demon's face was contorted in a grimace of even deeper horror, though it seemed impossible. "I want to know everything about her." "No, I can't," the demon screamed. "She'll kill me. She might be watching us right now. She has eyes everywhere. I will kill you much slower than that arachnid scum. Choose. Either tell me what I need, or we continue our amusement. Frankly, I take great pleasure in tormenting the likes of you, so you can say nothing and we'll continue having fun." The demon hesitated for about 10 seconds. It was clear that an active thought process was going on in his reddish-yellow eyes. He was clearly weighing the pros and cons. Alexei stood motionless. The pause dragged on, so Dmitri came closer with the instruments. The effect was achieved, and the demon, startled, began to speak. He answered all the questions. The brothers listened and recorded everything said on a voice recorder. "I've told you everything I know," the demon said in despair. "Little is known about her. I'm afraid to say her nickname, and I don't know her real name. I don't know how to find her, but she will definitely find you after everything that's happened here. She sees everything." "Thank you, friend, for sharing the information. Now let me go," the demon pleaded again. "I want to leave this body. I don't want to suffer anymore." Alexei, without saying a word, took out a white shroud. The demon, beginning to guess something, screamed with renewed vigor and again began unsuccessful attempts to break free from the chains of runic light that bound him. Having wrapped the demon in another layer of shroud, tightly bound it with rope, and stuffed its mouth with rags, Dmitri lowered him into the already familiar barrel of holy water. Only the possessed man's head remained above the surface. "You will not leave this body, and until you leave, the body will not die. You will be in it for as long as I want, even for an eternity. Well, don't be bored." Alexei's smiling face was the last thing the demon saw before Dmitri submerged it completely in the boiling liquid and sealed the lid tightly. Then Dmitri simply buried the barrel, not deep but enough to conceal the lid. The demon was finally sealed in darkness and agony. The brothers left the garage to meet the dawn, bloody like the sunset. Silently they reached the garden chairs, cooled by the night, and settled into them. Dmitri placed an old green lunchbox on his lap. He took out a sandwich and silently offered it to his brother. Alexei took the treat and exhaled wearily into the sky. Then he took a bite. "This is bliss, just like Mom used to make." "Well, it's her recipe," the elder brother smiled. "How are you doing, Lyosha?" "I'll manage, Dima. I'll manage," the younger brother nodded. "One day we will find She-Spider, and that bitch will answer to us for everything." "What do you think we should do next, brother? How do we find her?" "This half-baked demon in the barrel gave me some ideas, brother. We'll soon begin the next phase of the plan, but first, we'll rest and regain our strength." "Brother, did you forget anything?" "Of course I remember." Alexei smiled, pulling a small box from his pocket. As soon as the box opened, a ladybug flew towards the sun. The brothers followed it, towards the city. They didn't see it, but in places where remnants of the night's shadows lingered, dozens of spiders flowed in small streams into common piles like a lake. The surface of the lake was mobile due to the movement of many spiders. "The weather will be good,"